Wish I was a kid. When I was just a little nigga, bro, I looked up to my bigger bro, begged if I could kick it. So when he went out with girls, I would go tagging along, nagging if she had a sis, maybe could mac a babyhood rat. Y'all remember way back then when it was 1985, all the way live. I think I was about 10. All right, that's it. All right, hello America, hello world, hello you. It is your new best friend, Cashmere, California, and this is the Pod is Good podcast. Pod is good, and all the time. If you know, you know. If you don't, you'll learn. Keep listening. This is episode 27. Welcome back. Thank you for being here today. An incredible show I have lined up for you. My guest is one of LA's finest. It's the best way I could put it. One of hip hop culture's finest in the city of LA. Not saying that he's confined to the city, but just saying his mark has been cemented here. His legacy is well known here. You throw this name out there like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Oh the DJ, yeah. Oh, don't he be doing the poetry? Yeah. And now his newest quest has led him to stand-up comedy. It's about to be a good show. Let's go. My guy,
What up?
brother Jamel.
What's up?
What's
up,
good
man?
with you, family?
What up, Cashmere, man? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm happy to see you, bro. I'm like excited about this show. I've been waiting to get you on the platform. I know you're gonna bring something incredible to it, and I'm just excited about today, man. That's just keep it real with you.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having. I'm excited too, man. Always a pleasure sitting in your company and getting the chance to talk hip hop with you and life. So
Like we always do at this time. I got, you know how
yeah,
we
you know
do.
what I mean.
It's always right there. So I like the hoodie, bro. Hood nerd.
Yeah.
It's like it feels like a play on words because it's a hoodie. Am I
Yes.
catching it?
Yes.
Did
Yes,
I
you
catch
are.
the
Of
bar?
course. I mean, you gonna catch that though. Like that's because you're a writer.
I caught the bar. Yeah, that's fire. Is that yours or somebody you know?
Yeah, that's me, man.
I love it.
That's me. That's me with the hood nerd. I got material, stand up material about being a hood nerd and how that came about and whatnot. So yeah, man, it's a little branding,
I
if
love
you
it.
will.
Yeah, yeah. And I like how it's just right there. Like it's not like hood nerd. Like see mine. I mean, mine was a different statement, but mine's Jesus freak. It's more of I need to let you know. This
Yeah,
mine
yeah.
too, right? This is this.
Okay.
This is how we do. You see how we always, man. Whatever. They don't know.
Okay.
But I love the simplicity of it. Like
Yeah.
and I don't know if it went this far, but it's almost like the nerd was like the person in the corner. Like they wasn't really like standing out. They was like in the back of the room doing their work over in the corner, not really with the social group, just kind of off to the side. And then that's the way hood nerd is on the sweater.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. It didn't go that far. it,
just a
it,
triple, you know what I'm saying? I tried to throw that triple in there.
yeah. No, man. Like for me, it was straight up like I was one of them kids, man, like in high school or even like junior high, that I was popular, but I wasn't like in crowd popular.
I know what
Like
you mean.
like everybody knew who I was. In a sense, not everybody, but a lot of people knew who I was, and because I was always doing something that kind of got people's attention every now and again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I wasn't always in people's face, with what I was doing.
Right.
And
Right.
and then academically, I did pretty well, and but like kind of the nerd stuff was kind of hidden and tucked away though. Because I'm from the hood, and like when you can't show your nerd is
Yeah.
like out in the street, like out wide open like that, because you walking around with a target on your back,
Right.
and I couldn't get down like that either. So
Yeah. Yeah.
because I had to have my cool.
Yeah.
I still have to have my cool, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Big Daddy Kane was my favorite rapper, so
Mm.
I had so I kind of watch Kane and kind of hold myself a little bit like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you gotta do when you're young. You gotta know, even though you don't understand it yet, you gotta know what to be covert with and what to be overt with,
that
and and
that
you
part.
decided.
And to uh I'm old enough to like have Kane as like my favorite rapper, and so during that time, the knowledge of self movement,
Yeah, yeah.
was really alive, and the Black Power, like in stop the violence and all that. So I was always in T-shirts, and black medallions, or T-shirts
Okay,
that had messages on them,
okay.
T-shirts that reflected the power of our
Yeah, yeah.
people, and black medallions. So people kind of saw that. And, it was popular.
Of
It,
course.
it was accepted to wear that type
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And then B, it was cool. It was something that I was into. Like I
So,
was
so,
genuinely into.
so you definitely had a closet full of cross colors. You that you had to.
You know what? I ain't do a lot of cross color itself.
Word? Because
Nah, man.
that was it. They had the colors. I mean, I feel like the black medallion lay right. It
They
lay
they
right on the cross color overalls. I'm just
they, they did. Like you're not wrong. You're not wrong stylistically.
right, right.
But I think something um, was a little off for me with like sometimes cross color was just a little too bright.
Mm.
Um,
You want to be a
but I
little more
def
subtle with yours.
yeah, but I definitely like the print shirts. Like I was more like Jungle Brothers, native tongue
Native
family kind
tongues.
of
Yeah,
Tribe Called Quest look. Like I like that a little bit
yeah.
more.
I got you.
And so I might have had like some Bugle Boy jeans and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
You know,
then
with,
naughty by nature,
yeah,
t-shirt or
uh,
something.
yeah. A Malcolm X T-shirt on,
Yeah,
or I remember having this T-shirt that said "No sellout" on it. It
that
said
was
"No
a big deal.
sellout."
That was a big
Yeah.
deal. Back, like even if we didn't completely understand it, like, oh, you gonna sell out. You know what I'm
Yeah, no sellout. uh,
saying?
When Mandela was freed, I remember having like a Mandela T-shirt.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so it was all that stuff, man. Like
Yeah.
I was into it. I was into it. So the music reflected, you know, um, and helped a lot because how much into that stuff would we have been if our favorite rappers weren't talking about it.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Art
You know.
imitates life. And
Mm-hmm.
so you touched on it. So I'm gonna hit you with it. And I know you can go here with me. You said that's why Kane is my favorite rapper.
Uh-huh.
So now you gotta give me your top five. Now
Oh
I gotta hear it.
man.
Now you opened it up. I wasn't even
Okay.
gonna do it, but you opened it
Okay.
up. Top
Okay.
five rappers of all time. We got Kane, it sounds like, at number
Yeah.
one.
Yes. Well, Kane is definitely my number one. But then, like after number one, it's like really not that much of a specific order. If I had been asked this back then, I would have been like,
Oh yeah,
of
yeah.
course, it would have been really easy. Um, but KRS One,
The teacher.
uh, yeah, Kane, KRS, um, oh man, Rakim,
Rakim.
uh, uh, um,
I know the leader of Rakim Estate.
Ice Cube,
Cube, okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and
Little
then
West West
and then probably like the newest person to crack my top five from
from this
as
era.
far as new year,
Yeah.
uh, Nas,
Nas.
Nas,
Mm.
um,
I
and
like that. I like that top five.
and that's like my personal top five. Now I think culturally hip hop top five would probably be a little different, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but like my personal top five, I could never, I could never, I couldn't let a person who a drug dealer, a no, be and or a gangster be in my top five because I'm too old for that. You know what I mean? I feel like, you know, yeah, man.
I got
And
you. I feel you on that.
like for me, just culturally, I'm like, can't do it. I
You know,
can't.
but it's funny that you say that because I've been talking a lot lately about uh, people's personal criteria around their top five or around their top 10. And that's an
Mhm.
interesting one. But like, I had a top five that I threw out. And then I was like, well, what if I added these parameters, right? And I start adding certain things like, they haven't been duplicated. They, the game changed with them. Like they somehow brought something that elevated it. They uh, single handedly like represented a region or a city. And so I started doing those things, and there was a name that popped into my top five, no, maybe my top 10 that I had never even considered. Because if I'm doing my own top 10, I'm going like rap elite. Like that's all
Uh-huh.
I'm really focused on. Like
Uh-huh.
who's rap elite. But when I added those things, all of a sudden, Snoop Dogg got into my top 10.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And
Okay.
then, but at the same time, there was something else I added in there that Black Thought fell out of my top 10. And I thought that was interesting
Oh.
because if you tweak the criteria, certain people like you can't put them out, and other people though you want to, you like, but you just don't meet the criteria. So I think that I feel like if people could, I mean, not that we want to, because everybody wants to argue they top five, top 10, whatever. That's what we do. But
Yeah.
I think that's if we were like kind of listing the Mount Rushmore, so to say, it's like maybe a lot of people might not want to put Sugar Hill Gang as somehow one face in Mount Rushmore, but then it's like, well, but can you not? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
can you not?
With being the first, record, to
First
really break
mainstream one,
to break the culture,
right?
into the mainstream. That's a huge thing. Like LL did that. LL had did you see that interview that he did and he was talking to he was actually sitting there with Black Thought and Quest
Mm,
and and it might have been it might have been Charlemagne and might have been a Breakfast Club, but it could have been Nori too. But
mm,
LL was like he broke it down to the Mount Rushmore had to include the pioneers of the culture
right.
that really broke the culture. So he had like Mel and basically Grandmaster Flash and Furious Five. He had Cool Herc.
Gotta have hurt. Yeah.
He had Run DMC. Um, somebody else, but his top five was straight up the pioneers.
The pioneers. Yeah.
So I think it was like Grandmaster Flash, Melly Mel. So like separately, like put them,
Mm,
that
okay.
even though they're from the same group. And so just like them two, not the whole, Furious Five or whatever.
Right.
Uh, I think he did that, and then he had Herc, and then he's like, you can't do it. I mean, Run DMC, man. I mean, like because Run DMC showed where this thing could go.
Oh yeah.
Like flat out. I mean,
Oh
even though I believe the first sample of size of that was Curtis Blow, like
yeah.
as a as a
Which one?
solo. Um, uh,
Um.
just Curtis Blow himself,
Just period. Gotcha.
because Curtis Blow was the first like solo act to travel the world and as a rapper.
Yeah.
And doing Sprite commercials and doing all that stuff. He was the first one to do that.
Yeah. Curtis is
Um,
different.
Shout out to
Curtis. Quick. Fun fact. Curtis was my first like hip hop song that I really locked into. It
okay,
was basketball.
okay, yeah,
First one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Right.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people's first song would probably be something not thought of as being like a great hip hop song or like a culture breaking song and all
Yeah.
that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and some people probably be embarrassed to say what it is. um, the first song for me was a Run DMC song.
Mm,
Um, it's like that. and then
That's the way it is.
like followed with hard times, and
Yeah.
because they was popping at that time. That was like, for me, it was Run DMC, baby. It was like nothing, because like when I first saw the King of Rock video, I was like, yo,
I'm
these
the king
dudes,
of rock, the is
yeah.
higher. Sucker MC, you
You
call me
call me
sire.
sire, burn my kingdom. You must use fire, and I won't stop rocking till
Till
I
I
retire.
retire.
Oh,
Woo!
and the videos, like, because they outfits in there,
Yeah,
the hats and the jackets, the shoes,
right.
and just the whole look, like, you know, um,
See, sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
no, that was hardcore hip hop before hardcore became street hardcore, before it became gangster,
Mm,
or violent, or just like a lot of bad language.
yeah, yeah. I feel like sometimes when I think about that Mount Rushmore idea, it's almost like, but what about the producers? You know what I'm saying? Because the rappers, we know the rappers are elite. That was the front man, and at
Yeah.
least at a certain time. You had the DJs like Flash, like Herc, that are also in that conversation. But once you kind of break from them, you start really going. You don't really say Eric B, you say Rakim, right? But the sound is what also allowed the artist to get to that stage, to get on that radio station, to make that commercial. There was something about, they had to find those pieces to make it, either pull in a little disco, or pull in a little rock, or to, what I'm saying, to sharpen those street edges, to say like, all right, now we got a product. But they
Yeah.
don't always get mentioned in that same conversation.
Nah,
Yeah.
nah. Well, I mean, understandably so, but you bringing it up is like respect to that, and respect. But like, people have their top five producers too. Like I've seen those conversations around.
Yeah.
I've seen people's
That's
top
a fact.
10 producers. I've seen that Last Supper painting with all the producers at the table.
Mm,
You know, so there are definitely people who don't let the producers go to get thrown to the side, and by the wayside. Because speaking of which, and speaking of Run DMC, what was his name? Larry Smith
hmm.
was like the producer of a lot of the early songs. And not only was he producing them, he was producing Curtis Blow. He produced some Fat Boys. He produced Houdini. Uh, a lot of the Rush artists,
Yeah.
and
That's fire.
so he was, by and large, the first super producer. At
Yeah. Yeah.
during that time. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's a pretty big deal, and a lot of people are mentioning his name nowadays.
Right.
And then who else? Like Howie T. Came about like during that time, and
Yeah.
he had a few artists, and Herbie and Marley Marl. Were definitely very instrumental in those pioneering eras.
Yeah. This conversation always makes me think about, you love to hear the story, how it all got started. It's like,
Yeah.
because it's true. Like when you love it, you even if it's the stories you know of, it's like you love talking about it though. You love going back to that place. You love experiencing that new birth of something so incredible like hip hop, over and over again. It's like, it's no knock to what's new. There's no knock to how it changed. You give things have to breathe and elevate and grow, or else they die. That's process of life. But
Word.
there's something that's just so, you know intrinsically rejuvenating about just having the conversation about it's almost the talking about like the day your kid was born, and
Yeah.
talking about those first moments and those first weeks and that skin to skin time. It's like it does something for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Like that's the hip. That's the. I think all things nostalgic. Like we kind of go down that road and that path of how it felt.
Yeah.
Like during that time. I was just thinking about the other day. Actually thinking about like having this conversation with you, and and how when I first started getting into hip hop, and the first song, that I remember the lyrics to, and again, it's like that,
Yeah.
and and it was crazy how it happened because I how the memory comes to mind. I was on a corner and with some older heads breakdancing, like one dude I saw this dude do a backspin. I was like, yo, I could do that, and he goes, let's check you out then, and boom, boom. But before I did the backspin, I did a few little
Yeah,
things,
you got to get
and,
to it. You got to
and,
lead
then,
up.
and then I got on the ground and I did my little spin and I posed, and he's like, all right, and I don't remember what exactly he said, but it
Right,
was to the
right.
effect of like, all right, little man, or
Yeah.
like that. But then I remember having to go use the restroom, and on my way to the restroom, the song, it's like that was in my head, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna just keep rapping this song and see if I can do the whole song by the time I come back from
Wow.
because it wasn't that far, and I was like, okay, maybe so I'm rapping. And I just going back and coming back and doing, and then being proud of myself, like, oh, I did the whole song. It's like I know the whole song now, and I didn't realize that I knew the whole song
Right,
because
right,
unless the song was playing, I didn't know
right,
how much I knew it.
right. You listen to it so many times, it was burned in, you ain't even know.
Yep, yep. And Run DMC was so instrumental to my early years, man. That's the first group that I was calling into the radio station, trying to get a song played.
Ah.
Because the Raising Hell album was
Yep.
blazing at the time, and and I was just old enough to be sitting on the phone summertime, just like, you know, I'm gonna hold this phone to my ear until I get a chance to say, "Hey, can you play My Adidas by Run DMC?" But then, like, I'm on the phone so long,
Uh,
My Adidas played, right? So I was like, okay, scratch My Adidas.
yeah.
I was on, but I was like, okay, I'll ask them to play Peter Piper.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you something. You gonna play something I want to hear.
Hey, because that album was so hot, like
Yeah.
even It's Tricky was on there, and
Yeah. That album was crazy.
for, and again, in my opinion, uh, Raising Hell is the first classic record of hip hop.
That's a good conversation too.
I think it's the
Top
first.
five hip hop albums, because that has changed over time as well. Like the idea of a complete piece of art. You know what I mean? Like from
Mm-hmm.
beginning to end, trying to like where you can pull any of those songs and throw it on the radio, or pull any of those songs and throw it in the club, or pull any of those songs and clean to it. Like there's no skip overs.
Nope.
There's no okay. These are the anchors of the album, and then we just gonna kind of nah.
Mm-mm.
Nah,
Nah.
they was making like maybe 25, 30 songs, picking like 12 of them Jones to actually go on the record, and everything else is to the wind. Like,
Yeah, man. Like they weren't into fillers back then.
right, right. That was a different day, bro.
Mm-mm.
That was a
They,
different day.
there
You
was a.
you said something that was very interesting, and uh, I'm gonna kind of use it in like this other aspect of our lives, but you had listened to it so many times that it was burned into your head. You didn't even know it. Like your subconscious had already pulled it in, right? But you didn't know until you didn't have a song right there playing that you already knew it. I'm gonna go a little deep. Sometimes life is like that. I feel like we have heard um, we've heard people give us direction. We've heard suggestions. We've heard guidance. We've heard wisdom. We've heard, all these different things. But I think this kind of goes into like meditation or having those times to yourself. Sometimes you don't realize that, we're always trying to figure out now how I'm going to get it, how I'm going to figure this thing out, how I'm going to answer this next phase of my life, how am I going to transition to this? What am I supposed to be doing? And sometimes God has already poured it into you through these vessels around you, and you kind of just got to get to yourself and get in here and go, because if I take that and hold on, and you start piecing things together that you wouldn't have if you didn't have that time to yourself. Have you ever had a moment like that where maybe things felt a little cloudy, or like, man, I feel like I should know how I can make this thing happen, but I just haven't put all the pieces together. And it took getting alone. It took a moment of solace to be like, there it is.
Wow, that's almost one of those questions that you might have to be a little more specific about, like what thing, because as a creative man, it's always been like these moments of clarity,
Hmm.
uh, of what I need to do to push myself forward
Hmm.
and make myself more known. I know one of the things as a DJ, one of the things that happened was when I first started making my own mixes and selling them.
Hmm.
I, it A served as a business card. It B like I was selling a lot of them, like, because the more I was gigging, it was like I just announced it like, yo, I'm selling these CDs, and people wanted them, and and uh, and I remember like years when after I stopped selling them, people would be talking, man, I still got, like the Shell Toe edition, you know, hip
Fire.
hop CD that you had,
Fire.
and like I sold, man, from hand to hand, I sold maybe 5,000 of those CDs, of those
That's
Shell
hood
Toe
rich.
edition.
That's hood rich right
I
there.
sold like 5,000.
Gator boots, pimped out Gucci suit.
I sold like five, maybe like 5,000, maybe a little more than 5,000 of the Shell Toe edition itself. And then
Wow.
and then like I had like other copies, but that was the biggest selling one because like people wanted that classic
Yeah.
hip hop sound, and that was nothing on that disc uh, that after 1990.
People don't understand though.
So
5,000?
yeah,
I don't know how much you were selling them for, but let me just say, simple math. If you did sell them for $10, that's 50 grand. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
people understand the independent game is different. Even if you did it for $5, I mean, that's 25. I mean, come on.
yeah. And now it was over a span of time because like I made the CD. I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
like what year, but over a certain amount of time, like
That's
I,
dope.
I moved 5,000 of those.
That's dope.
Now, to be honest, like maybe not all of them weren't. I probably didn't sell all of them.
Mm,
Probably just handed out a few, but not a whole lot.
right.
Uh, but over time, man, like I sold a
That's
lot of
crazy.
those discs. Like
That's
people
crazy.
people love that.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's kind of what I mean. One of the things that popped in my head was there was a time that I had tried to start this radio station called KTBH. It was Take Back Hip Hop Radio, right? And the whole channel was basically kind of a mixture at the time. This is like what, early 2000s. So I'm taking old school classics, but I'm mixing it with the stuff of now of that era that kind of resembled it or felt like it had some of the same energy. And I'm doing a radio station, and I'm getting viewers. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh wow, I got people listening to me in Indonesia. I got people over in Turkey. I got people over and it was like, wow, this is super cool.
Yeah.
But it was too spread out. You know what I mean? It was like, yeah, you might have a few thousand, but you got like, you got six in Kenya. You got like two in South Carolina. It's like, at the time, it's like, well, what do you do with that? And so, and then the that website shut down. So it's like, dang,
Oh,
now what? And so I had that, but then I had these a few other things I was doing. I was meeting a lot of people at colleges. I was, doing shows. I was meeting other DJs. I was meeting rappers. And I was like, man, I feel like the business side of me should be able to put this stuff together in a local way so that I can actually monetize it. And I could not figure it out, man. It just felt like I had all these little pieces that were all over the place. Dude, I left my house and I said, I'm going for a walk and I'm not coming home until I figure it out. I walked for like 9 hours through the valley, just trying to figure it out. And when I finally got done, it was like, I got it. I'm going to do an event called the Hip Hop School. I'm gonna go to all these colleges with the hip hop school, take artists there, bring it as a program, but then also teach the elements of hip hop, teach what hip hop meant, the culture, the mindset, the positivity, yada yada yada, the fashion. So it turns into an educational thing, but it's also a performance thing. Schools will take it on for these extra. I'm doing that, and I did it. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I meant of like sometimes you feel like you just have those moments and it's right there, but you just kind of gotta get away from the noise. You know what I mean? Like I like the way you said it though, like just a moment of clarity,
Yeah.
especially in a city like LA. It's sometimes hard to find
Oh my
a
goodness.
moment for anything, really. But
And then trying to find a way to monetize our ideas to help so that our ideas work for us.
right,
And because a lot of times, as creatives, we tend to not work on that part so much. And I am a testament to that because a lot of times for me, again, man, like being a DJ, I was able to start making money as a DJ early.
mm.
Like when I got into DJing, thanks to my mentor and my brother Blas, man. Like I was, he
Shout
took me
out to
under his
Blas.
wing, and yeah, man, and started getting me gigs like immediately, and some of those gigs were like with TV shows,
Mm.
and so I was always around Hollywood stuff because
Yeah,
I'm DJing sitcoms and I'm hanging out with TV show people,
yeah.
afterwards and everything. So like I was in the world,
What
but
TV shows, man? Don't try to like not tell us what
but I
TV.
went but I went
What
in, but I
TV
went in
shows,
the world.
man?
Well, my very first show was a show called Ned and Stacy, and starring Deborah Messing and Thomas Hayden Church,
Mm.
and
Nice.
that was the first show that I started doing, and then I went to King of Queens.
Oh,
Um,
that's my favorite show. Like of all
I
time.
I did the Hughleys. Uh, I did Smart Guy for a few episodes.
Nice.
Mad TV. I did Mad TV for a nice run, uh, and then there was a whole lot in between those parts. Like I think That's So Raven. If I sat down and like did the whole list, it might be, who knows. I mean, one of the latest shows that when it was on was Marlon Wayans show.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
did I did a few episodes of that. But like my staples were, as I said, King of Queens and the Hughleys and Mad TV. Those three were my constants.
Mm.
And
And so to let people know when, because obviously if they watch King of Queens, they're gonna be like, "What? No DJ? It was only one black person in the whole show. What are they? What is he talking about?" If it wasn't Deacon, it was no other black person. So
yeah,
tell them what
yeah.
you did as a DJ for those shows.
As a DJ for a show, like there's sitcoms. So sitcoms have audiences, and in the audience you have a audience warm up who's like usually a comedian who's just talking to the people and letting them know the rules and how everything works in sitcom land,
Yeah.
and letting them know when to be quiet when the bell is on, when they can start talking again when the bell is off. And I'm up there with the comedian with the warm up and playing music, keeping people alive. Like keeping the rhythmic spirit there.
Yeah.
Cause sure they can talk all that time, but it sure help to have some music to get people like like
Yeah.
moving a
Keep
little
the
bit,
energy going.
get some get some energy instead of just listen to this person. Cause sometimes they're funny and they make but they need some help
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
And
Keep
and
their
so
energy up. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and so it was a team effort, man. And we had a blast.
I can imagine, man. I was just talking. One of my guests, Sharice, was on a couple episodes ago, and she was talking about how she used to go to I forgot which Steve Harvey show. I don't know if it was. I can't remember which one it was. I feel like it was um, Family Feud, but yeah, it was Family Feud, and she was saying that it was the first show that she went to where during the breaks he didn't leave because most of the time the main talent they leave during the breaks, right? She said he would come out and then talk to the people. He would sit down and tell stories. He'd call on people, listen to people's ideas, or let people talk and like just interact. And I was like, that's crazy because usually they have a crowd warmer, and that person is supposed to be handling that. But
Yeah.
Steve, even at his level, is like, now I'm gonna go out and sit and talk and bond with the people. I thought that was like so unique.
Yeah, man, that is unique. Like on his part, because um, very much what you just said, man. Like a lot of times, like when like when it's a break time, they want to take their break. They want to
Take a break.
maybe go get a drink and come back. But I've seen the clips of like with Steve Harvey talking to the audience at Family Feud,
Mm,
and TV shows. Sometimes the talent would do that too.
okay.
Every now and again, um, they come out and or since they're on set, since they're like and they're just like getting notes or fixing wardrobe
Yeah.
or in between takes or something. Sometimes the star of the show will come up and talk to the audience. He asked to warm up for the microphone and just have a conversation with people.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
and just play with them. Just keep the fun
Yeah.
alive
Yeah.
because they want to. Because sometimes, and that's nothing more than somebody who not in Hollywood get a chance to interact with
Right.
somebody from one of their favorite shows.
Absolutely. And
That's
out
awesome.
of all those shows, we know your staples. Sounds like you did it for a really long time. I gotta ask, what was your favorite one to do? If you had to pick one,
Ah, the Hughleys,
the Hughleys.
the Hughleys,
Yeah.
the Hughleys.
And why?
King of Queens was a lot of fun too, though.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, but if I have to
Pick one.
pick one, it was that mainly because of the warm up
Mm.
and the connection that we had there. But then also, um, I'm keeping it a buck. I was on a black show, and there were a lot more black people there. I felt more comfortable.
Got you.
Um,
Got you.
and but even in feeling comfortable, I still I knew that was work. That was
Yeah.
I was always a professional about it. But I developed a rapport with the Hughley family. All his kids knew me, by first name. Actually, his daughters called me DJ Dude. Uh, that was my name.
Dude.
I started doing their family parties and stuff.
Nice.
So it felt like family over there.
Yeah, that makes sense though.
It felt like family over there.
Yeah.
At King of Queens, like you said, Deke, like Victor and Leah Remini were the only two that ever made themselves accessible a bit to me.
Mm.
I don't know about anybody else, but they're the only ones that make it. Like I had a couple of conversations with Leah, and she would be like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" Like her I think she's from Jersey, but her straight up East Coast, girl style. Like she was warm to me, and I don't know if everybody had that experience with her, but she was cool to me.
Did she try to get you in Scientology?
No, she didn't.
She didn't. Okay.
No, she didn't.
I
I knew
know
about
she was
that.
heavy back then. I just don't,
Yeah.
That's what's up.
I knew she was in it, but no, and Victor Williams, the character the guy who played Deacon, he was super cool with me, and
because he felt the same thing. He was like,
right, it was probably the same thing for him. He's like, okay,
right.
the brother DJ in here, and so we connected, and but that was cool. But the Hugleys was just a whole nother thing, man, because nearly everybody on that cast, I was able to develop a rapport with. And it's crazy because DL was the one probably the farthest, for that.
Yeah, of course.
But he's probably like always in his head and like thinking about trying to be on more because out of the Kings of Comedy, he's the one who was least an actor.
True.
And so he was really trying to be present, but the rest of the cast, man, like everybody there knew me. I just thought of another show. But shoot, you might be able to help me with the name because I can't remember the name. The one Flex Alexander was doing with Kyla Pratt.
The proud, not the proud.
Um,
That's on the tip of my tongue too. I'll pull it up.
but that show,
You on that show?
I did that for a few seasons. The first three
Wasn't it
seasons,
something
I
about
think
the
it was.
family?
The way,
Fox Alexander.
but why you look for that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, and I even got like one of my first clients
One on one.
Well, one on one, yes.
Yeah, one on one.
I even got one of my own first personal clients working with the Hugleys. Doing the Hugleys was the head of makeup over there. Her name is Merce Arsenault, and Merce used to hire me for her parties. She like I like the way you get down up there, in the audience.
Yeah.
I like the music you play. Can you come play my DJ my party at my house? I'm like, yeah.
Music once again does it, right?
Right, man. And I'm like, absolutely. And
right.
She was one of my. She would book me, like twice a year, man. Like, like maybe just for like her birthday, and then maybe some other thing that she may have been doing. But she would, Merce was booking me, and then because she was booking me, some other people would book me or whatever. Like,
right. It feels like what you're saying about being connected to them because they were people that look like you. It feels like nowadays people shy away from that fact and like that truth, but that's just reality. You're always gonna have a certain bond with people that are from the same culture as you. Like you're gonna resonate with them just like that. It's just like if it was more of a Hispanic show and they had a Hispanic crowd warmer and he went out there and said Tia, everybody would laugh. It's like it's funny. But black audience, if you went out there and said Auntie, everybody gonna laugh. It's like there's a connection that you don't have to explain. You know what I'm saying? There's just like you know what I'm saying? We just get it.
Yeah, man. And the only way that it really translate what say you might be a similar experience across the cultures is if you're a person who's just open to the other cultures.
Right.
And you spend a lot of time around, the other cultures and whatnot. And I can tell you, like growing up, I did not spend a lot of time around white people. Only at work. I mean, or at school, because I definitely had some white friends at school.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Outside of school, they were my friends. They were, they were my classmates. So it wasn't so much that they were my friend. It was, like a cool ass classmate or schoolmate.
And where'd you grow up?
Houston, Texas.
Houston.
Yeah.
Houston, H-Town.
Yeah, North Side, Acres Homes, the fofo.
Fofos on tipping, wood grain I'm gripping.
Yeah, they from my hood.
They from out there, yeah, I know.
They
from your exact hood.
Yeah.
Fofos I'm tipping, wood grain I'm gripping. Catch me lane switching with the paint trip. Turn your neck, your dame missing. I'm finger flipping and syrup sipping like do or die, pole pimping. Car stop, rims keep spinning. Come on, man. I remember when that first came out. I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't feeling it. Okay. I wasn't feeling it. I was like, come on, man. Come on.
Okay.
I just the Mike Jones, Paul Wall, I was just like not interested at all. Again, it's just because what I was doing at the time, what hit my ears at the time that made me perk up in hip hop, and that just wasn't it. But it's interesting how as time goes on, and we talked about the growth and allowing hip hop to live and breathe, the direction that it's in now or later on went. By the time Soulja Boy is out and whatnot, I'm like, man, I wish I could hear some Mike Jones right now. Yeah. Man, you know what I mean? Because you do with art, period. You always compare it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you have things that hit you at a certain time in your life, and later on you might be like, why did I even like that? Why did I used to even be into that movie? Like, that movie is corny. I can see these special effects are terrible. I can see the string
right there. Right. Because it's attractive to us. Whenever it's attractive to us, we sometimes we can't explain it.
Right.
It just hits us. like that song, Still Tipping, was man, I can't even lie. When it first hit me, I was watching the video,
Mm.
and it was one of those moments where I think sometimes I would leave my TV on and like, to be raps or something, or BT was just on, and I'd wake up and roll over and the song is playing, and I remember looking at that and going, uh, and just that beat was so ill to me. And I was like, what the fuck? And I look at it and I go, okay, okay. And they start rhyming, Slug, Slim Thug start rhyming. And I
Mm.
go, look who crawling, look who is in the mix. It's that 6'6" thinking your trick. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, okay. And he do his thing, and I'm like, beat still slapping, and I go, they from Houston.
Mm.
Because I didn't know. I had no idea at first,
Yeah.
right? And I go, that's Houston right there. And then it really hit me because I'm looking when Paul Wall started rapping,
Mm.
and I'm looking and I go, wait a minute, I know this dude. And it turns out a few years prior, Paul Chameleonaire were at my sister's wedding.
Wow.
I think it was Paul Chameleonaire and maybe Mike, but I remember Chameleonaire and Paul being there, and I'm going because I remember my mom picked me up from the airport
Mm.
and wedding the same day that I arrived. Right, I walk in and I see these dudes because and the wedding was at my mom's house, and I see these dudes standing off to the side, and I go, "Who the hell are they?" Like, and like they weren't dressed like wedding, like they, attending the
Of
wedding.
course.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hell, these thugs at my sister's wedding. Who the hell is this?" But my sister was connected, man. Like she knew everybody because my sister did hair, and she owned her own hair salon in Houston, and she rented out booths and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But my sister was Sam is her name. I keep saying my sister. My sister Sam was probably the illest hair braider in Houston. And
Okay.
I'm talking about cornrow style. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like she did the individuals and all that stuff too, but everybody wanted to go to her for their cornrows because
Fire.
she's little. She had these little hands, so she could do all these super intricate
Ah.
things.
Yeah.
Because she was able to do with the man. Everybody was. If she gave you a list of people that she did their hair, because people were coming into town
Just
and they would get their hair braided by her.
you got
Like
to get her on the show.
like celebrities would come into town and get their hair braided and stuff. Like she
Yeah.
was that was really her world for a while.
That is awesome. And I like that behind the scenes. If she would be willing, we'd love to have her on the show. I love to hear some of her stories. If she's, I don't know her personality. If she's like, yeah, I ain't doing that. I'm behind the
Right,
scenes for a reason. But
right.
she would. We'd love to have her. Open
I know.
invitations. Let her know.
Okay, I'll let her know because I can't answer for her.
Right. Right. Of course.
I
Of
don't
course.
know. I don't know if she's into that. Like we are.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's crazy though.
but that
That's
is,
crazy.
man, like because them dudes is in my like in my mom's living room, and I'm going, who the hell are they? And then
These
and then
thugs.
they blew.
These thugs. These.
Yeah, and then they
We're
blew.
not against rappers.
It's
We are against those
those
thugs.
thugs. The Becky's records. It's the Becky's records.
So at the time you didn't know who they were. They even now you were out here because you said you flew in, but were they even known out there? Like the people there
Oh
that they knew
yes.
them.
Oh
Got
yes.
it. So they were locally famous. They just hadn't really hit that mainstream yet.
They were they
Got
were
it.
they were bubbling like a mug out there. Like they was
Got it.
because Michael Watts, um, like that was they do Michael Watts because you had DJ Screw on the south side,
Yes.
and Michael Watts on the north side.
Yo, Mike. Okay, keep going. You
And
that
and
just
um, so, but DJ Screw, rest in peace,
rest
like
in peace.
was the innovator to chopped and screwed sound.
Right, right.
But like all things, if it's hot enough, other people gonna hop on.
Yeah.
And so Michael Watts was the next guy to hop on with that in Houston, and so Michael Watts had his own crew,
Mm.
and his crew was those guys, um, and
The
DJ
Swisher
Screw,
House.
yeah, Swisher House.
Like I hope I'm not using the wrong person. The story I'm about to tell you is complete facts. The only asterisk that I put is the name Michael Watts because I cannot remember was he. I'm really really close to 100% sure. But let me tell you what I just remembered was another reason why Swisher House was just not it for me when I first heard them. It was also because of how they were introduced to me. At the time, I worked at Best Buy. I just told you I was working in home theater, right? Or home
Mm-hmm.
entertainment, whatever they called it. We also had a geek squad right next to us, right? So it's
Yeah,
home
right.
entertainment. There's a computer department, and in the middle of those two, there was like the geek squad section. It used to be in the back. Now they got it right in the front. There was a guy that I knew there. I can't think of his real name right now. Why it's escaping me. But I knew his rap name was DJ Astra. Okay, we were good friends. We talked all the time about music. Talked about doing events. That was DJ Astra.
Uh,
DJ Astra worked in Geek Squad. A little corny, black guy, tall. Not really like your hip hop aficionado from the surface, but he was a DJ. So I'm like,
yeah,
all right, we hip hop takes you in all shapes and colors, right? So I ain't judging by
right,
far.
right. Okay.
So he starts telling me how, yeah, man, my brother, he's a DJ. Asterisk. His name is Michael Watts. He got this his crew, the Swisher House, like they like big in Texas, and I'm like, okay, that's what's up. We live in LA. We know how it go. Everybody knows somebody that's doing something somewhere else that you can't verify. That's just LA, right? Like, oh
Yeah.
man, you should have, man, if you was out there and saw what we like, that's how stories go. They get a little inflated by the time they make their way into the city. So I'm listening to them, but I'm like, all right, let me know, how they do. And the first person I heard out of the camp was Paul Wall.
Mm-hmm.
So already I'm thinking a slightly corny computer technician told me about this group.
Oh, wow.
And then the first person I see is a white guy with multiple colored diamond teeth. I'm like, okay. Already I'm to the left. And the next thing I know, I start seeing like Mike Jones, who? Mike Jones, who? And then whatever the number was, I
The
know
phone
everybody in
number.
Houston. I know everybody in Houston know it, but he throwing the phone number, and so it started in such a place that by the time it was introduced audibly to me, I was just already like, all right. And I think that tainted, along with what I said before, because it was also, even if that didn't happen, I'm pretty sure it wasn't going to catch me to where I really resonated with it in the moment. But that didn't help. that, that didn't help. Matter of fact, I'm gonna try to get DJ Astra on because I want to confirm that it is, because I've talked to him recently. Well, recent for us, like in the last 5-10 years. But I feel like his brother's name was Michael Watts. This might be his brother.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, listen, if he said that they got their own thing going on, Swisher House, that's them. If he said Swisher House, that's Michael Watts.
Right.
That's because my cousin used to rhyme with them,
Mm.
and and truth be told, he was one of the hottest ones with them.
Wow.
But unfortunately, like his mind wasn't right.
Mm.
To be about the music and and not so much about substances and whatnot.
Mm.
And
Gotcha.
the irony of this part is really funny because his real name is Mike Jones, but it's not that Mike Jones.
Wow.
My cousin's real name is Mike
It's Mike
Jones,
Jones.
but he went by Lil Pluck.
Little pluck. And
He went
so
by Lil Pluck.
so was it of his own volition that he wasn't with the group when they actually blew up, or was it something that they decided like, yo man, you just ain't really going in the direction we going? Like, how did the split happen? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the
All right. Shout
details.
out to Lil Pluck. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah, all I know is when I would go home, it was crazy because he a few years younger than me, right? He's like 4 years younger than I am.
know?
Uh, but he would like I taught him how to rhyme,
Mm.
and he was so into it. Like he looked up to me because my brother and I used to rhyme all the time, and he saw that I was really into it.
Yeah.
And so Lil Pluck just started rhyming. He started rhyming. I leave Houston. Every time I go back to Houston, he was better, and he was connected. He was more connected. He was like into it. Like he was, man. He was going to the Swisher House recording mixtapes with him because he straight up got mixtapes with Slim Thug, like with the whole crew on it.
Whole crew.
You know, the whole Swisher House, like them just taking turns on songs, and
That's dope.
and he just had this box full of tapes, and I was like, yo, give me something to ride around to because I'm trying to get used to this whole screw sound because I wasn't into it at first.
Mm.
It caught me by surprise. Like,
Yeah.
I was at a party. I was at not a big party. It was like just a card party. But my brothers, my eldest brother Sean was and some friends. They busting cars and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they playing Tupac.
Mm.
And so granted, this is all eyes on me time, right?
Mm.
And I'm listening, and I go, yo, something wrong with your tape, yo. Like it's dragging. And they go, what do you mean? They go, no, it's not dragging. I was like, it's playing slow.
Right.
And my brother girlfriend go, it's screwed. I go, that's what I'm saying.
Screwed up.
And she go, you never heard of DJ Screw? I'm like, no. He go, yo, he's a DJ down here, and I go, oh. And so I'm listening and sure enough, like he go, like I don't know what was the hot song on that? How Do You Want It or something? Or I Can't Deny It. I can't deny it. I'm not, and it was like I can't. And he he's mixing it. He's beat juggling and he going back and forth with it. Right. And then he going deny it, rider, meet. Yields in the drunk with meat, and it was slow. It was slowed right. down, and and I'm like, oh, and then of course they like to slow down like that because they chiefing and they got the syrup sipping, so everything is slower for it, like so it's all about car riding music that slow down vibe, and at first being a hip hopper, I'm like we all about the like I'm on the West Coast like it, bang, like the banging is smooth, G funk, and East Coast still like the, and I'm like, nah,
right.
I don't want it slowed down,
especially not that slow. Not like it took a second. Slow. I mean, he did his own thing, pioneer, for the whole culture of Houston. But for everybody else that wasn't syrup sipping, that was still energized.
Yeah,
it was like
but the whole South was on it though because 3-6 took over, so started bubbling because of that same vibe, that same energy.
Yeah,
and you know how big they are.
Yeah,
and it was, man, and then they was chopping and screwing everything.
Yeah, so it became a thing.
So Swisher, I was like Isley Brothers. Al Green,
right? Usher Records, whatever.
It didn't matter.
Everybody can get it.
Anybody can get it. and
Everybody.
so my cousin gave me something to ride around to, and so some of the songs like they be letting the song play, and then they kind of blend into like the instrumental Isley Brothers song or something, right? And then somebody will start rhyming,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
and I was like, yo, and I was there for like a week and a half, and my mom let me borrow this, this bucket that she had, sitting outside. So now I got wheels. I got I got I'm bumping music. I'm like, yo, I ended up, like, because I wanted to feel what they was feeling,
Right. Right. Of
um,
course. Of course.
but I was not into sipping lean.
Yeah.
like I smoked, but I was not into sipping lean. I was like, nah, I'm not into no drug, no other. Just give me some herbals.
And I realized that later in my life because I wasn't really around it as a young guy. So it took me some years to realize that there was certain music that was created with certain listeners in mind, and those certain listeners might be inebriated by a certain substance. And
Yes,
maybe that's why you don't rock with it so well, but it wasn't made for you.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
like
Like it's just not for you.
straight up, like but as time goes, the sound grows, it becomes more mainstream and
Yeah.
more widely known, and then it becomes just part of the culture,
Right.
because it was a subculture or a subgenre,
Hmm.
and then it became part of the thing, man, and because now that South sound is the preferred sound of it is the main sound of hip hop.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to the South.
like the South, started putting it down because either I don't know, Cash Money came along.
Mm.
Well, I shouldn't even. I'm sorry, No Limit. I'm just going to Cash Money first because I know
No
No Limit.
disrespect.
Um, but when Cash Money came around, like they wasn't always like they didn't like the slow stuff either.
Right.
Because Manny Fresh like that New Orleans, like bounce,
Yeah.
and so that's what separated them from the other South Sound,
Right.
from the No Limits, and from the Rap-A-Lots
Right.
and the Swisher House stuff. Um, that because Manny Fresh had the beats that you
Right.
could that you like this right here with,
Right.
it made it a little bit made their sound a little more accessible to the rest of the world, even though like they still had to blow, regionally first too.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I found this out later that Juvie and BG were almost signed to No Limit.
I did not know that.
Uh, no Limit wanted to P wanted to sign them at first, but I don't know, for some reason like it wasn't working out,
Yeah.
and Baby was like, we're gonna start our own thing, like we because whatever the deal was, they ain't like the way the numbers was looking over there.
Gotcha.
So they decided to put their own money up and go their own route.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if P wanted to sign them, they had something going on, and 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 Juvie was the oldest of all of them.
Hmm.
Juvie and then BG and then like Turk and Wayne were the youngest. Uh, as far as the hot boys go, because
Yeah. Yeah.
Baby and Slim, they as oldest or older than Juvie, and
That's crazy.
but
Well,
even like,
I'm gonna
yeah, go
say
ahead.
from all that though, I want to get there's a second invite I'm putting out to Lil Pluck. Second
Oh
invite,
man.
Lil Pluck. I don't know. I'm just throwing the invite out. You know what I'm saying? I can only do my
Uh-huh.
side. Because that could be interesting as well. I've always thought about like who are the people that were around certain movements that haven't said their story. Like I used to always think about Aaliyah's brother for some reason. He
Mm.
always popped in my head. Like This dude was like obviously a brother, you know what I mean? That he sung to times that he did a lot of times he did backgrounds for her, and then like just him watching her life. I wonder what his view is going to be a lot different than Missy telling the story or Timbaland telling the story or Dame telling the story. And it's
Yeah,
like, how do you get in contact with those people so you can hear, those different perspectives. You know what I mean? I think that's why I'm throwing out like, oh, she was braiding her hair. That's dope. Oh, he was in the group before. Oh, that's you know what I mean? Like that
yeah,
gives us some more nuance to a certain
yeah.
movement. You know what I mean?
It totally would, man. Like now, Lil Plop would probably love to talk to you, because he's a performer. He's still a like that energy is still in him.
There you go.
His accessibility or to I don't know. I can't speak to any of that. I can only say reach out to him and go, hey man, uh,
Yeah,
my partner, over here on the West Coast.
let's do
Want to
it.
know if you want to do a podcast with him, and
Let's see. Let's see if we can get him on.
there's a chance because he got some stories.
I bet.
He got some stories.
I bet, bro. I
Uh,
was I was actually listening to um I was watching so the echo chamber of YouTube. But I was watching something because me and one of my guests, South Central Conservative, I've had him on a few times, and we've been going through reading
Wait,
and
that's the person's name, South Central Conservative.
yeah. That's his. Well, that's his YouTube name, South Central Conservative.
Okay.
Yeah. He is a black Trumper
Okay.
basically. Um, and so a lot of times with him, we get into these political debates, and so oftentimes, when you talk to somebody, at least in my experience, you talk to somebody from the right, you get a gumbo pot of the left mischievous deeds. I mean, it's just Hunter Biden and Hillary's emails, and I mean, it's just constantly pouring out. George Soros, and I mean, it's just and you can't stay on topic. And that's kind of what we've been trying to do with reading indictments. But I find myself, going to research things because I want to make sure I'm informed. I want to make sure that we can speak intelligently to certain ideas or opinions that might be thrown out. Like let's find the fact, right? But there was something that was constantly coming up was like this fight against wokeism. Like wokeism is like it's almost like the new boogeyman in town. Like
Yeah.
and I know what I consider woke to be, and I know what they're turning woke into. You know what I mean? It's almost like when Kaepernick knelt. It was like he knelt to say this, and later on it turned into disrespecting the flag and the military. It was like, where'd that come from? Like how did it change to that? So I know you're very into the culture, society, the politics of the people. So just to kind of showcase another side of you during this interview, I wanted to talk about what do you view wokeism as, or what does it mean to you?
Um, it's funny that you say wokeism.
Right. I mean, the,
Like
the names don't stop. Wokeism, woke mob, woke. They're gonna come up with something else. Woke gangster in a minute.
that's because they don't want to just deal with what it is as it is. Like they want to change the definition by definition of what it is. Woke is just is a consciousness of being informed,
Hmm.
and it's information. You get a new piece of information, and now you're awake. You've been awakened to that subject matter.
Yeah.
Uh, it's something that like in hip hop, we used to call it. We used to say we're conscious,
Right.
but we also would use the term woke at times, but it's like um, it went from consciousness to being woke and so forth, so on. Because I think one of the first people in the hip hop culture, even though she's not a rapper or whatever, Erica Badu.
I do. Yeah. I
You know,
stay woke.
hmm
Yeah.
and but like she said it on that song, but before that, like she mentioned being woke on the Baduism album or something, right?
Mm. Okay.
Or like on stage, and like it was kind of her thing. Um, but that's all it is, man. Like woke is having some information more information than you had before, and now you've been awakened to uh, a certain topic or a certain thing. It could be the stock market, and how the stock market was formed, and how the stock market operates. And oh, now see, I'm woke to that situation. Da da da. It
Right.
could be pollution. It
Right.
could um, but then the attack on being woke is because look, people who want to control you always play down your education.
Mm.
When somebody want to keep you locked in the space, and use you as a robot, or keeping you as a pawn, they don't want you to be educated.
Yeah.
They don't want you to have information. So when you get information, they they uh they spin what you're learning.
Of course.
And
Of course.
like I mean, just think about it, man. Like um something, you want to talk about being woke, or being awakened to information. As black people, we have this thing, like the menstrual era and whatnot, right? Where and the cartoons that they would do and what
Mm.
have you. So there's a stigma about us eating watermelon.
Right.
Watermelon, everybody loved watermelon
Everybody loves
in
watermelon.
in, in America, right?
Everybody loves watermelon.
Uh,
Not even just in America.
right.
Everybody loves watermelon.
Everybody loved watermelon. Watermelon happened to be a major source of income for us, for lots of people in the
Mm.
South during the time, right? And so
Oh yeah, yeah,
we sold a lot of
yeah.
watermelon.
These pitch watermelons. Yeah.
And because we were selling watermelons, they would create these cartoons with us eating watermelon, and sitting on the porch with watermelons and this and that. So the stigma ended up degrading us, and because we didn't want to be degraded, and because we were making money, jealous white people, uh, racists, would make us look bad because we're making money off of something that they would probably wish they were making money off of, and because they not getting that profit, they make us look bad because they have the access to the media that
Yeah.
can go out to the people, and so they create this. Oh, they love watermelon. Look at them with the watermelons, and now we and
Control the media.
control the media,
Control
and
the
you
media.
control how people think, and
Yeah.
so and because I'm awake to that information, you don't want me to be woke. See,
All right.
and so they don't, but that was they don't want us to have the information to wealth. There are just certain people, and when we say they, we know who they are. There are certain people who don't want people who don't have nothing to have something, and they continue to create those wars, to keep the America divided,
Yeah.
and like racism. There are a bunch of white people who don't want to be racist, but if you start speaking their language to, hey, you have problems, and your problems are being caused by those people over there coming and taking your jobs, or those people over there getting free stuff or living off your taxes, and those people over, then that creates a racial divide,
Yeah.
and because not and they trick them because they themselves are on welfare,
It's powerful.
yeah, and
It
they
is powerful.
themselves, and they don't even want them jobs over there.
Right.
How many
That
times
part.
you how many times you go apply for that job?
That
You
part.
you didn't.
That
and,
part.
and
That
and and so, like, you got people who pull the string. Like, racism in America is big business. Like
possibly possibly the biggest.
and it's been big business, and I loathe it because there are too many people who could really be helping this country move forward,
Mm.
and help this country truly progress, and be a healthier society if we didn't continue to push this racial narrative. Now, it's true in a lot of ways, like as black people, like when we step up and speak our truth, It's not that it don't happen. It's not that it's like that isn't police brutality or wrongful arrests, that constantly happen, or and systemic racism. Those things are real,
Right.
and then it forces us to talk about it. And
Right.
if and then we talk about it, and then here comes a cycle of because now that's this attack on wokeism because they do not want us to know the true history of America. So now they attack CRT, um, and which is just American history, and because the grandparents don't want their grandchildren hating Nana because or being mad at Nana because Nana was participating in throwing rocks at that girl trying to go to school.
Right. But they'll green light 12 years a slave every 5 years.
Yeah,
They'll green light as long as they are not made to look like evil.
yeah. Well, they don't want the light to be shown, like shown upon the evil ones, and because here's the thing again, not all white people want to continue to push this along, but there's a selective few who are are comfortable in where they are and people being ignorant.
Hmm.
They're comfortable with people being ignorant, because they're comfortable being ignorant, and the people being ignorant because they don't want their lives to change. They don't want change. Change is hard. Change, change is difficult. It means, damn, now I have to be held accountable for my behavior even today.
Yeah.
Well, I never owned slaves. Yeah, but are you participating in activities that keep people poor? Are you participating in activities that keep black people from not having? And
I'm gonna bring you on with South Central so we can have a because I don't want to feel like I'm the one constantly just beating this young man over the head. But when you hear him saying stuff like your ancestors would be mad at you for not just taking what they fought for and being happy, but constantly trying to fight for more stuff. I'm like, so so you think my ancestors would rather, or our ancestors would rather us just be complacent? Like, hey, we fought for you to get the right to vote. You got it. Shut up. Don't worry about redlining. Don't worry about you know. Don't worry about other stuff. Don't go too far. Just
don't,
stay in
don't
your
worry about don't worry about people doing their job. like you voted them in, but don't worry about if they doing their job or not.
dude. I mean, some of our conversations, they're healthy as long as I feel like people that are listening are getting something out of it. You know what I mean? I keep saying this channel is to either entertain or empower. So
Yeah.
hopefully it will do one of the two because I even try to throw an olive branch even right now to say like so that people can understand this idea of woke. Like for people on the right, Trump was woke to you. Trump went and opened up a lot of we don't charge taxes for imports from blah blah blah, but they charge us 150% to we're not doing that anymore. This country does this. I'm America first. These politicians were doing this and that. I'm draining the swamp, getting them out of there because it was the same kind of idea. It was someone stepping in and saying, I have new information that will elevate your consciousness, will elevate your thinking, and hopefully through that we can build a better America. That's it. That's literally it. And when it's woke that direction, then it's probably more empowering to them. It's not being woke. That's just him not being a politician, not being in the swamp, him being an outsider, and him going in and taking down, being so anti-establishment. It's all the good qualities. It's all the good framework. But then if somebody on the other side brings information and it's like, especially if it's not what they want, then it's wokeism. Then it's terrorists. Then it's all these other ideas. It's anti-America. It's leftism. It's Antifa. It's all the stuff. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yo, it's
My,
hurtful as an American.
yeah.
It really
I,
is.
I think sometimes one of the best arguments to those discussions is to look at the person who's knocking the wokeism and what have you. Say, listen, I'm an American, or just a human being. Don't you want me to be informed about all issues that affect my community? And if I'm being informed about those issues, if I'm misinformed, why don't you just help me be better informed? So that way we can all be on the same page,
right,
and that we were all working with the same information.
right,
Or do you not want me to have the information that you have
right,
because you want to be able to operate it from wherever you're sitting?
right,
But if you want me to be a part of where you are, if you want me to agree with you, then you might want to make sure you give me all the information, and so that way, when I find out all the information, I'm not upset with you.
right,
Because you hide it, and then I find it. Now I'm upset
right,
because I'm smart enough to know that, oh, if he told me these things, I know that he knew this. Why did he tell me that?
right,
And so that's a problem.
right,
And
big problem.
and I think I don't care what side of the aisle you on, because like you just said, when Trump was saying some of the things that he was saying, I was like, yep, we've been saying that. Like Dave Chappelle has a part on his in one of his specials where he's like we've been on that. Y'all talking about we've been on that.
We've been on that. It ain't new to us.
It ain't new to us.
Right.
And if y'all would have listened when we were trying to tell you, we wouldn't have had this problem.
Right.
We wouldn't have arrived here.
Right.
You know?
And now since we've been on it, but just because we've been on it don't mean whoever is the first person to say it out in front of everybody, we're just gonna follow them blindly. You know what I mean? You still, there's still a criteria in leadership. And I think that's kind of where, a lot of stuff gets lost, because I think for some people, their criteria is, as long as you are anti the things I'm anti, that's enough.
Right.
Like, I can just go with that. And,
Right.
They throw out these things like, well, you only, black people voted for Obama just because he was black. It's like, no, that was a big part of it. Don't get it twisted. But it's almost like exactly what you said. If we could take it back down to something a lot more simple about DJing with the Hughleys. I'm pretty sure just walking in and seeing the crowd, you had an instant perception that there's a possibility that there's going to be a different comfort here. There's going to be a different connection here. You don't know it, but you're going to have that instinct, because that's just human nature. If any animal sees another animal in the wild, they're probably going to think, oh, hey, you kind of look like me. There might be less for me to worry about. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah, let me go see what you're about. Let me go see if we're on the same page.
That's it. Now, once the crowd opens their mouth and they're like, boo, I don't like your afro, then you're like, oh, man, this it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Yeah. But when Obama opened his mouth, it was like, okay, I can rock with that. So if Trump, keeping it gangster, if Trump had started the things that he said, and I was like, okay, yeah. And then he opened his mouth and really went in, and it was like, shh, yeah, I might have been on his side, but he didn't. Like, no. You just didn't. You got the top part of the application right, but once you got down to that work history and those the skills, you just fell off. It was you wouldn't
like why are we here? How did you get here? Right. And but he was brewing, man. When Obama was in office, like he started his whole. That's when he started campaigning.
That's it.
When Obama was in office.
That's it. And my guy always says, everybody says he's a racist. How is he a racist? We used to love Obama. I mean, we used to love Trump before he became a president. Black people love Trump. Like, why don't y'all love him now? And I'm like, well, there's a big difference. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know another way to put it, but you can. I think I brought up Kanye. I'm like, yeah, when Kanye is college dropout Kanye, and he's putting out these songs, and he's putting out the type of music, and that people love, and there's a harmonious thing with him, and yeah, people love him. And then he goes another direction, and people got everything against him. No different than like a wrestler. You can have a wrestler that at one point was on the good side, Everybody love him. Every
Yeah,
time they
yeah,
come
yeah,
out,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
next thing you know, they do a little scripting. They change the character plot. He comes out and goes to war with somebody else you love, and now he's on the bad side. Now when he comes out, boo, that's come
Yeah.
on. Like
Yeah.
it's not hard.
Yeah, it's not hard at all. And like I never loved Trump. Just to keep it a book.
Let's start there.
No,
Let's start there.
but because I found out at a young age, like how he was operating as a businessman. Now, don't get me wrong, as poor people, we're taught we tend to admire wealth,
Right.
and people who are able to operate within wealth.
Yeah. Even middle class, not even
middle class.
poor.
Yeah.
Like if you ain't rich,
If
you kind of admire rich.
You admire rich. So that was always like maybe that he's that wealth thing that but then at a young age, my uncle told me about how he was, he had the USFL. Trump had the USFL.
Yep.
And the USFL was failing, and so he started attacking the NFL. Now he might have had some grounds for trying to sue the NFL for sabotaging his league. Maybe. I can't say that he didn't, but there was also some openly shadiness that he had going on as well. With all the way he was doing it. I can't really get into it because I wasn't old enough, but the way my uncle explained it, I was like, oh, that guy's a sucker. And maybe that was because how my uncle framed it. Who knows? So I could see it that way. And then I was a fan of the NFL. Like hello. and so maybe that was my own bias.
Right.
And so that was that. And then,
but everybody has their own bias.
Everybody has their own bias. Then I heard about his school that he opened at that time, and I was like, wow, that's shady, and how that happened. And so by the time, and so even all the wealth and all that, conservative South Central, whatever his name is, you got to know that there's a difference between private citizen love and being qualified to be the president of the United States love.
Very different.
He wasn't qualified to be the president of the United States. Private citizen, hey man, look, you're doing your thing, but your shadiness is not a resume that makes me want to vote for you as a president.
Right.
Period.
That's it.
Like you're slimy and shady. Like you do slimy, shady stuff as a business person. I don't respect that for my president.
Right.
Right.
And let it be known, most of us, I'll just speak for myself, these last couple of terms or last couple of elections, I wasn't too happy about either side. I wasn't yay Biden. Nah, I wasn't. I wasn't yay Hillary. I just wasn't.
Nope.
There was only one person that kind of got me somewhat excited, and that was Bernie. That was it. That was the only person that I locked in with was Bernie. And the Democrats did him dirty.
Yep.
Did him foul. And so this is no way in trying to promote the other side by far. This is not like, well, elections are coming up. We're trying to trounce on Trump's name to build up. Like, I hope neither one of them are in office in the next term, 2024. That's just keeping it gangster.
Right. Because I think Bernie would have beat Trump.
I do too.
Because Trump couldn't talk to Bernie sideways the way he talked to Hillary.
Right.
Like Bernie was prepared to call Trump out. And Hillary also just wasn't like regardless of all that, she wasn't a strong debater.
Right.
Like when she like even just other people just have stronger debate voices. Like they're able to, like Elizabeth Warren, spoke more firmly and firmly than Hillary did.
She really did. And you need that with Trump because he's good.
You need
he's been in entertainment. He's been on TV. He stood in a WWF ring. Like he knows how to be a menacing, character,
Yeah.
and to have that kind of stance of like, you're not going to talk over me. I'm going to roll over you in this.
Yeah.
And so I even heard it when he was debating with Biden. Like Biden came ready for it, and Biden tried his best to not get pulled into Trump's little side comments and little remarks, and he just couldn't. He couldn't help it.
Yeah.
He couldn't help it. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna listen to him. And then he'd say a couple words. Trump will say something. He'd be like, will you shut up, man? It's like he just kept
That
pulling him in. It's like,
that right there. But when you shut up, man, like
right.
that's what that game Biden so many points at that
Yeah,
point.
I do agree with that.
Because it was like, yo, you're being disrespectful to the format,
Right, right.
and and,
But
and
but
they
but he didn't follow it up. That was my only
right.
issue. Like he might say shut up, but then Trump would say something, and then he would start to kind of answer it. He was like, "Well, you did. Well, you're not saying it. You're not bringing it up. Which I'm not bringing it up because." And then it's like he got you. He
Yeah.
got you. And that's what I mean. It's like Trump knows how to, but whatever. Shut up. Okay. But, but,
Yeah.
but, and it's
He's
like you need that. You need that. It's like, and I hate that you do because the political landscape didn't used to look like that. You
right.
didn't have to have, schoolyard bully tendencies and debate. You can let somebody else talk. You get your 5 minutes. The moderator gives y'all equal time. You move on to the next question. Everything was dealt with very professionally. I get it. The world don't want that now. Cool. So now the Democrats got to figure that out. Hell, Republicans got to figure that out because a lot of them talking about they want a different candidate. Ain't nobody close. Ain't nobody close
Nope.
at all. So it's like everybody needs to figure out a way if they want to dethrone their king.
Yeah. Yeah. And they want DeSantis.
They wanted him, yeah, but
They
at
that
this
guy.
rate,
He's trash.
he's full trash, like all the way trash. And I will say this: I'm going to give another olive branch. When I'm saying Trump is not the greatest president, when I'm saying DeSantis is trash, I'm not saying that they've never said anything that I agree with, because I
Right.
think that's what happens. I think people they get into that almost kind of like what happens on the House of, on the floor of Congress, where it's like the Democrats only respond positively to Democrats. The Republicans only respond, and then so it doesn't matter what they say. A Republican can say, I think babies should live, and the Republicans go, yay, and the Democrats go, it's like I'm not saying that. I'm saying DeSantis has said some things about certain things that I'm like, yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm
Yeah.
with you. You want to get talks into family, talks into to where the trans world should be, and how it is connected to kids and the community and being in preschools, and you want to talk a lot of that stuff. We can talk about it. Just overall trash.
Yeah. The way he's governing Florida itself right now, like the way he keeps it's not a great reflection on what we want as a president,
Right.
as somebody leading our country.
Right. And it shows. And
It
there's numbers.
shows. It shows, man. Like he's the way he dealing with the immigrant, situation. Like that's just wait. You thought that you could ostracize or you could alienate these people, and they just gonna still continue to work for you,
Right.
and then they all abandon the state or stop working, and then you realize how important it was to have these immigrants in your state,
Right.
and like to not know that off top, you're an idiot. Like you're an idiot because you're trying to serve some people and don't realize what you're doing.
Right.
You don't realize how you're affecting your space because you're trying to serve, trying to serve again. Like the Confederacy has been having its way in our government far too long.
Mm.
The Confederacy has been having its way in our government far too long. And, the North may have won the war, but the South won the narrative.
Mm.
Um, and I didn't come up with that. Like I don't remember the scholar's name, this brother who, but it's terrible because like they like because even right now, even like banning certain books and like and what have you. Again, why are you uh, trying to eliminate this literature? Has been in your libraries for years,
Right.
and now you want to eliminate it. Why?
Right.
Because you don't want the Confederacy to be hurt.
Right.
And they're trying to continue to maintain the Confederacy. Like there's this thing called there's this group called the DOC, Daughters of the Confederacy,
Mm.
and one of their main jobs was to be a part of school districts and be a part of the school board to approve certain books and certain literature and what was being taught in schools. Um, and that group came about. That group came about uh, after the Civil War. Some years after the Civil War had happened, a lot of the guys who fought in the war were getting old and they were dying, and so they tried to figure out ways of honoring their grandfathers,
Yeah.
and honoring their grandfather. That's when some like a lot of those statues and stuff started going up. The Civil War statues, the Confederate monuments and those things started happening, and and one of and the DOC was a large part of the push for that, and then because they were part of school boards, they were the way you talked about the Civil War, they kept their finger on that, and how and so they would talk about it like oh, they were just fighting for their rights for their to govern themselves, and it's like nah, they was fighting for the right to own slaves.
Mm.
Um, and
Yeah.
so and so they wouldn't allow any of that writing to be in the books, in the history books, put in that way. And so that's why for years um, the story has been, skewed in this, by certain people. And it's like running from the truth and then manipulating the truth and then so forth and so on. And now it's just gotten to the point where everybody is insisting on the truth so vigorously and so vividly that now their backs against the wall, so they're doing certain things to make sure that the truth don't come out. And and again, the Confederacy has had their way in American government for far too long.
So I got a question. All right. So, because this is a challenge that I have when I kind of consider both sides, right? So what you just talked about was like certain books being taken out, right? That have been there forever, but because they, give a certain narration that the school or the state doesn't want anymore. Now they're trying to remove it, right? And to us, that's taking away from our history, um, our reality, and vital American education because it is the history of people that are here and part of how the nation was built, right? Um, Now, then there's the other side, let me say the newer side that's going on with books, where you have LGBTQ plus books that are also being fought against, right? Books like the Gay BCs, right? Here's This is the tension that I find myself in because when I look at the Gay BCs in a preschool, instantly my brain and my heart are like, no, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? ABC is fundamental learning. Gay BC is far from it. That's a lifestyle, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure the people that craft those books and that adore those books would say different. They would say, no, this is fundamental to that person's, finding their identity and their own truth so that they can grow positively and all those things. But to me, no, that's still a fragment of future education, in my opinion. But I wouldn't say that if there was a book that was talking about, obviously not talking about slavery directly, but indirectly kind of dealt with that time period, dealt with, you know, black people and maybe having to rise up in society to get their rights to vote and things of that nature, or to be in the same schools with, you know, white classmates. If I saw that in a preschool, it wouldn't bother me. And so I look at that as like, well, am I being sensitive to their plight, and am I being understanding enough, or do I have a point? What are your thoughts?
Um, More than one thing can be true at the same time.
Hmm.
So to your ask, I think all of those things could be happening with you because um, as a personal stance, I I want my child to be able to have the information about homosexual life, and that because there are some of her classmates have two moms
Hmm.
or two dads, and um, when she asks about that, she has to have some information. Um, I think there is some trouble or some issue that could take place with having like trans women go into schools and teach or read to kids, especially like some of the photos that I've seen. Now I don't mean this across the board. I think when you're in a space of teaching, there should be a certain level of conservatism. Like 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 as progressive minded as I think that I am, I still have some conservative views on things. And I
Okay.
think I think that should be with everything, everybody. I don't think everything should be radical on one side or radical or ultra conservative in another
Agreed.
space.
Agreed.
And so if a trans woman is to go and teach and go and read to some kids, she should dress like the teachers would dress.
Mm.
Don't go in there like you go into the club.
Right. Right. That's a good point.
Don't go in there like you're like looking like a streetwalker. Like I don't like no like because even non if we're not talking about the like sexuality side of things, like even as women or as men, there are outfits that are suited in certain spaces,
Yep.
and there are certain outfits that are going to trigger certain behaviors or certain thoughts. And when you try to tell people that they're not supposed to have those thoughts or they're supposed to, now you're trying to control people's behavior.
Mm.
It's like no, if you got to know that the world don't operate and revolve around how your feelings. The world operates on just reaction, people reacting to what they see and what they believe. And your feelings are not going to always dictate people's responses to you.
Mm.
So there are certain things that even like why don't you ever see a male newscaster, a male anchor um, wearing a tank top?
Mm.
You don't even see them wearing polo shirts.
Right.
And the polo shirt don't even button all the way down. And even if they were doing casual Friday, the polo shirt would be buttoned. So why is it wrong to ask a woman to dress accordingly as well? Like it's like
Mm.
like 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 there are certain places where professionalism is just a thing. And asking me as a man to not get turned on when I see a woman's cleavage
Right.
or a woman's shoulder while we in the boardroom, that's telling me to go against my nature.
Right. Which
Like
is virtually impossible.
which is virtually impossible. I'm attracted to women. I'm attracted to the things and there are lots of things that are attractive on women, and
True.
and we know this. And here's the thing: women know this,
That's true.
and but yet, because I've seen the argument, I've seen a discussion about um, women being asked to not wear their shoulders out or their back out, or like in the boardroom and what have you. And it's like, ma'am, because those things are attractive to men, and so we're being distracted. And they're saying like, oh, well, you shouldn't be distracted. You should be able to control your. No, that's not how life works.
Yeah. Being able to control means I don't jump across the table and try to rip it off so I can see the rest of you. That's the control.
That's
I
the
can't
control.
control my neurological response to it because that's out of my control.
That's out of my control.
Yeah.
And if you're looking good and you're smelling good,
That's a
so
trigger.
so so now we have this visual thing that's happening, and then we have this the sensory thing with our nose that's happening. So hormones, a lot of smells are hormonally triggered.
Mm.
So if you in the boardroom looking fly and you smelling fly, you're smelling attractive to me. I'm attracted to you,
Right.
and now I have to listen to this presentation and, and and stay focused on the presentation when
Right.
I know that I'm being my internal, my carnal feelings are being called over to this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and so I don't like that argument of telling us to not be human.
Yeah.
Telling us, and so some of that spills into the world of the LGBTQ as well.
Right. Right.
And I'm all for people having a rights to live the way they want to live,
Yeah.
and what have you. But there are still parameters of professionalism, and if you want to be treated a certain way, you may not like it, but you have to present a certain way. Period.
Yeah.
You have to present a certain way. If you dress like a streetwalker, don't be mad that somebody yelling at you, somebody calling you. Like, you might not like it, but everybody don't have that control to not catcall.
That's true.
You know,
That's true.
I might see it. I might catcall in my head, like, but I'm able to control myself on that.
Right. And you got to. You got
Everybody don't have it, and then to be mad, like look, if somebody put their hands on you, that's wrong. If somebody even come up to you and say all kinds of foul things and you're violating your space, that's all wrong. But a cat call, some people may not. I don't know. I can't say what people's mentality or is capable of doing and saying. Like, not everybody. And it might sound messed up, but everybody elevated don't go all the way up. Some people are on the spectrum, and so do we disregard that people are on the spectrum? So when that guy on the spectrum sees you, dressed a certain way and he's attracted to you, and he cat calls you, we disregard his mental stability?
Yeah.
No. What happened to equality? We treat everybody equal. Like, we're supposed to give him he don't know how to, like people, people with Tourette's and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
You going into another conversation. I know that one. We're gonna have that one.
You
Because
know,
that whole world is also very touchy, just the the man woman equal treatment, how you look at me, even like this whole like free the nipple movement and how you
Yeah,
the body. That is a another conversation. Matter of fact, I think we'll have that conversation. I'm starting a segment on the show called the War Room. It's women and relationships, and I think that I'm going to do it as a panel, 3 guys and 3 girls on all on at once. And I think that some of those topics are things that it would be good to share with both genders in the room.
yeah,
So, so to say, so that they can say like, yeah, but this, I
yeah,
know, but this, and have those eye opening conversations because we need to hear it from different walks of life, people that are in different spaces. Because you even talking about going back to the trans, the LGBTQ plus movement lifestyle is like your view on it is very specific because you have a daughter who's in schools who have other students that might have gay parents or lesbian parents or same sex parents and like or same gender parents, however they say it now. That's going to be completely different than me talking to somebody in Missouri and that's not around them, so their perspective on it being in schools is going to look a lot different. And so it's like it's easy to say no, 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 that shouldn't be in schools, but then if you hear somebody like your perspective, then you might go, okay, well, maybe it should be in his kid's school. Okay, well then it should be in his kid's school. Well then, what? How many schools? What area? Okay, well then now you know what I mean. Like the conversation starts to take more of a understanding tone, more so than my own personal response. Because I ain't gonna lie, hearing you say it made me go, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like I would want, I don't know, I would still want to know the content because I wouldn't want the content to be too suggestive because in trying to say it's amazing, you may not realize that you're also saying, come on, you should do it. Because
yeah,
that's kind of how sometimes it gets sold. It's so much of a there's so much fanfare, there's so much of a parade, there's so much of a this overwhelming adoration in I love myself and look, I'm a free spirit and look at my world and it's beautiful and everything, that it turns into like marketing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I feel like there should be a limit to that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Like I agree with that. Like, and and my thing is, I think it's important to be open to some extent.
Yeah.
Um, to be completely closed is wrong because we all know that gay people exist.
Right.
We
Right.
all know that, and I think it's, and then also I think it's natural that people are careful or just sometimes confused. Man, people don't know how to accommodate um, alternative lifestyles,
Right.
and so and then the people speak. Sometimes the people speaking on behalf of the community is the best spokesperson.
That's true.
And
That's
so that becomes an issue
yeah.
because that spokesperson is trying to get the word out and is trying to be an advocate for their group, but they're not the best person to be an advocate for their group. And so sometimes it's just really difficult to have the best mediator
Yeah.
in the situation,
No, that's
and and to help all sides to move forward and to thrive in a space. Because again, like every like, the curriculum that you teach elementary school kids on gay lifestyle has to be handled sensitively, and because the truth of the matter is, little children um, don't know what those feelings are anyway. Like really small children. My daughter is 9. Um, she's starting to know what these feelings are. she started to know, you know what a crush is. She like you know, and even before that, but even before 9, she I think she knew,
Right.
and some kids knew. I remember being in elementary, even slightly above before elementary,
Hmm.
and knowing that I was attracted to girls.
Dude, real quick story. I hate to cut you off. My mom just told me a story that blew my mind the other day because my son, anyway, long story short, my son is 7, and she said that she remembers me being his age and for Valentine's Day asking her to buy a gift for a girl and said that I wanted to go to the girl's house. And I went up to the girl's house, knocked on the door and everything, gave her the gift, and she was like, "You've always been like that." So you're right. It is. You do see it early. You may not know what it is yet. You may not be able to describe it. You may not have these long, drawn out, you know, thought, sessions about it. But you know the instinct. You know the gravity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and so the same can be said for a gay child,
Right. That makes sense. That
and
makes sense.
and so there has to be some, you know, something for them as well. Uh, Now I know they're a minority, but having something for them isn't always just that it's for them. It's also for the other kids to be able to understand them. And and in any community, any environment, it's necessary for everybody in the circle to be represented.
And so, how do you wrestle with the idea of like at a young age, like even let's go back to what we were talking about, just having a crush, right? Like you said, some kids know it, some kids don't, and you kind of find that out in different ages where you kind of really understand what a crush is, or understand these feelings, right? But there was no um there was no literature on it. You know what I'm saying? You didn't go to the library and find books on it. The teacher wasn't talking about it in class. The teacher didn't bring up, you guys are probably starting to like each other now. Like that wasn't talked about. And
No, not
so
at
that
all.
right. So that kind of then starts to build my wall back up because it's like as understanding and as sensitive as a person that I am, I also feel like things should kind of be handled in an equal way. And so why when a child doesn't understand those feelings like we're talking about, and there isn't any literature or conversation that deals with it in a heterosexual way, but there is literature that they can find in their libraries that deals with it in an LGBTQ way. Now that's when it starts to feel persuasive, and you start feeling like it's unnatural because like you're talking and teaching my kid into a direction when we haven't even taught them into any other direction. Let's just say it that way. They only have literature that talks about this. They don't have the straight BCs,
Mhm.
right? It's like it's not like the straight the ABCs talks about anything that has to do with their lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah,
ABCs is Apple. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's baseball. It's cat. Then you go over here to the gay BCs and it's lifestyle. Like that. That's not equal to me.
I see that. I see your point in that. Um, I think one of the reasons that I think it's approached in that way is because of the bullying situation
Hmm.
and protection. Because again, I'm gonna go back to, you know, childhood, and because you know, and when we were kids, um, we could
Say it.
tease
Say it.
we could tease kids
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
being gay. I mean,
And anything else.
we tease them about anything.
Right.
Like,
You fat. You
so
short. You
yeah,
tall. You whatever.
and so that's what that like we live in a time now that we try to protect all those spaces,
Right.
and and gay included, and race included, because you know, again, representation, like we, you know, our children these days, they have books and literature on Diego doing something, or Tran doing something, and Tran, like an Asian kid or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they have the books that are representation based
Yeah.
for everybody. I think the tricky part with homosexuality, of course, is now you're dealing with sexuality, and you're
Right.
introducing children to sex, the idea of sexuality, because sexuality deals with our reproductive organs.
Right.
And as much as certain groups try to um, omit that part of the argument, it's not possible,
Right.
because we're dealing with, like when we're thinking in heteronormative aspects, as we did all those years, it was uninclusive of the gay lifestyles, and bringing the gay lifestyles into those discussions just takes a sensitive thing, because um, we start thinking about the sexuality of it. Now, if it's a boy liking a boy, that or a girl liking a girl, at young ages, it's like, okay, that's fine, because they still may not know about anything sexual.
Right. Right.
And and so you kind of gotta, and we gotta make sure we leave it at that part. But once they get to the age where they can talk about the sexual part of things, um, now we have to have that conversation, because again, times have changed so much that these kids have access to a lot more than we did.
Oh man.
The internet is a game changer,
Absolutely.
and so there are kids, 7, your son 7, and my daughter 9 years old, who may have been exposed now to something explicit, sexually explicit,
Right. Right.
and like maybe before they were ready, but once it happens, now they're ready.
Now they're ready.
Because once they ask a question, and once
Whether they
it's
ready
time,
or not, they ready.
it's time for it. It's time for it.
Right.
But every kid, every child in that class aren't at the same pace. So we don't know when that's, and that's why, like when we were younger, sex ed, became a course by the
Oh
time
yeah.
we were,
Yeah.
you
Like
know,
like middle school, seventh grade
yeah,
for me. Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
truthfully, if that was the conversation, I'd be fine with it. Like if it was, this is a part of American culture now. It is widely known that there are, they don't have to be a large population, but that the presence of homosexuality has made itself to the forefront enough to where it feels like it needs to be discussed and understood in schools. And they said so in seventh grade, along with teaching reproductive organs, teaching what the penis does, teaching what vaginal. Cool. We're also going to talk about blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I could be okay with that. I could find a way to make sense of that. I think for me and a lot of people, and maybe you as well, there are certain parts of it at a younger age that you're just kind of like, but why now? Like, why? And I think that's when people start to feel like it's a, yeah,
agenda.
there's an agenda here. Why you this is almost like Apple. Apple was the best with an agenda, whether we realize it or not. There's a reason why so many people have Apple computers over PCs now by far. And it's because Apple was smart enough to give free computers to schools. They gave, education. They still do boot camps and teach you coding and all on Apple computers. And matter of fact, you used to be able to go to an Apple store. If you were going to go buy a computer, they had a kids area. They had multiple iMacs set up so the kids could play and learn Apple now.
Yeah.
So in 10 years, you're going to buy your first Apple. So, it does make sense to start early when you are trying to navigate people to a certain direction. I'm not saying that's what they're trying to do, but I'm saying that's what the feeling is when next thing you know, we're talking about it at such a young age. Like, why is there a drag queen at my 4-year old school telling about drag life and making it so mystical and beautiful? Like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is not a career. You're telling me that this wasn't a choice. This what well, drag maybe, but you're telling me that most of these lifestyles are not a choice. This is just how you are. Great. So the people that come to my school, my kid's school, and this was a choice, like a career, you want to dress up like a fireman and tell them how great being a fireman is? Fine. You want to dress up like a farmer and tell them how great being a farmer is? Cool. But don't tell them about your lifestyle. Don't
I
bring your
see,
lifestyle
I
to
see,
them.
I see what you're saying, like, and because now you just separated like this is career minded things and this is lifestyle minded things,
Right.
and yeah, those are two different conversations to have.
Yeah. Agreed.
Um, because and then go back to what I'm saying about the representative of your movement might not be the best representative for your movement,
That's a fact. Yeah. That's
and
a big statement. That's real.
and sometimes like that's what we get. That that's what we have our biggest beef with, like Candace Owens and
Mm.
Larry Elder and Kanye. It's like no, they don't speak for us.
Right,
they,
right, right.
they don't speak for us. They speak for them, and
Right.
there might be a few of us like who think like them, but no.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and so that's where the problem comes in because sometimes just people not ready for the conversation that's being had.
Mm.
And when it comes to children, we got to protect children uh, space as well, because we got to let them maintain their innocence for as long as they have a right to,
As long as possible. Absolutely.
um, and don't force thoughts up on them, and
Yeah.
don't force agendas upon them. And that's all agendas, to be quite honest with you, because you know, um, when you grow up in the hood, when you advocate for black intelligence and what have you, that's a lot of gangster shit that your children shouldn't be
Yeah.
privy to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that behavior that they should not know either.
True.
And in our music, there's a whole lot of messages in our music that they should not have.
I agree
And
with that.
so that whole that freedom of speech, there should be some responsibility behind you utilizing your freedom of speech. Um, I'm not a fan of um, entertainers, people in the limelight or in the spotlight saying I'm not a role model. Yes, you are.
Hmm.
Yes, you are. The moment you reach a certain age, whether you're an entertainer or not, you become a role model.
That's a fact.
And then if you are an entertainer, you're even more of a role model now because you're influencing. Full on well how much people admire stars or celebrities or
Hmm.
people with talent, just in general.
Yeah.
Like neither you or I are stars or celebrities in the way of saying,
Hmm.
but through our art form and through our creativity, we have some fans
Right. Right.
and people who may look up to us, or people who may want to do what we are doing and say, "Man, I like what you're doing." So you're always a role model. Each one teach one
Mm.
is always a thing,
Always.
and I believe in that. Some of us do not because we want to be able to say whatever we want to say and do whatever we want to do
Yeah.
with with um, with no repercussions. And I ain't like it when Charles Barkley said it.
Mm.
I ain't like it when Easy E said it.
Mm.
I ain't like it when like saying that I'm not a role model. Yes, you are. Don't
Right.
you know? I was 12. I ain't had no business knowing all the lyrics to Two Live Crew or Too Short songs.
Right. Right.
You know?
But and that kind of goes back to the content for the kids. It's like, some kids are gonna find a way to find out what they find out. But like you said, we still got a responsibility. And the same way as I don't want the drag queen at my kids' preschool, I don't want Too Short at my kids' preschool. Especially, it's one thing if he's just gonna and talk about, I don't know. I don't know what he could talk about. Maybe
What
just
are you going? No,
I was gonna say, if you want to just come and they have, a reading hour and it just happens to be Too Short and they're bringing different celebrities in, then that's one thing. But I was gonna say even that, because my daughter now, like, she sees, oh, Bruno Mars song was on this, and when I was at school and we had computer time, I was looking up Bruno Mars. Like, he's from Hawaii, and they don't just want to know the artists anymore. The way that they are is how we used to be with reading the literature in the CD jacket. It's
yeah,
like, we want to see who was on this, where the sample came from, blah blah blah. We want to see all that kind of stuff. They online, like, I want to see what else is about. So yeah, I don't want them researching Too Short. And next thing,
no, no.
I know my son saying the wrong word the wrong way, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
And then even and here's the thing. I'm glad you even mentioned like Bruno Mars. Like Bruno Mars is, as much as we like his music and we love the dude and what have you, he's very sexual content.
I don't even like my kids listening to him. I told my wife I don't like them listening to Bruno Mars because he
Like
sneaks it in, but very sexual.
yeah,
Very.
don't get me wrong. I like that he poetically does it.
Right.
You know that you have to be a certain age to get the innuendo or to get the language, but it's very sexual. He's very sexual, and that's become our mainstream culture.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about agendas, um, now I know this is going, I think you'll be able to understand this because but it's a very religious based or and what have you based. But the devil has always had an agenda
Mm. And everything.
in everything.
Yeah.
Um, and see one of the biggest issues that sometimes I think people don't understand is that you don't have to call him the devil, or you don't have to, but but negative and evil-minded people, evil-spirited people have always existed,
Yeah.
and they've always had an agenda
Yeah.
to do whatever at any cost, just to cause confusion, because confusion generates income and revenue. And if you can generate income and revenue, there are people who believe that that is enough to have a right to say or do things. And and because of that mentality, they'll continue to funnel that energy or that spirit, or find ways to manipulate a way to say and do the thing to create the income or the revenue for the thing. And and there's no stopping that. So you got to have uh, moderation minded people,
Yeah.
so that to not go too far on one side, not go too far on the other side, and that's one of the things that why conservatives are so um, in the space where they are sometimes is because they uh, but unfortunately oftentimes they're also very hypocritical, because in one world, they're trying to protect the children, but in another space they won't protect their fellow citizen. And so
Yeah. Yeah. No, we'll get into it. One thing people will understand, definitely grab this from what I'm about to say. This conversation started with a top five, and it has gotten to the devil always has an agenda.
that
artists artists are
real.
thinkers, man. We are thinkers, true and true, through and through is what I meant to say, and
Yeah.
and that has been a very good display, an example of exactly that. And but that's life. You know, life weaves in and out of patterns. I don't mind going to different topics. You know, in certain conversations, that what gets me is sometimes when we just can't, especially if you're trying to defend a point, you can't stick to that point long enough to make your case. You know, you're kind of dancing to this and what about that? You know, all of those kinds of things. But I'm hoping
Mm-hmm.
that all of this will somehow find its way into humor and on stage with you, because I know we talked about you as a DJ. We talked about the early ons. I guess we didn't get as deep as I wanted to get because I wanted to know like the first turntable. I wanted to know the first record you purchased. I wanted to get there. Maybe we'll get there on the next show. Um, but because I now I want to make sure we end in like a more lighthearted space because Brother Jamel is much more. He's added another tab to the docket, and he is now stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you've already been in that space. I mean, I've had you on stage with me. You DJ plenty of my events. I've been to your events. So you've always had to grab the mic, keep the crowd in, into it. You know, even me and you did back and forth on stage. So you've always been a funny guy. But what made you now throw your hat in as an actual comedian and put a set together and see what that lifestyle is like?
It's a voice of mine that I've always had, and I always wanted to. I just put it to the back for
Hmm.
years, um, and to be honest with you, that there was some regret about it
Hmm.
because I think about how far along I would be if I had just started doing stand up.
Yeah.
Back in the early 2000s or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but that's neither here nor there at this point. But because that's a voice of mine, and it's a voice. Like I have a voice,
Hmm.
and I like to make fun of things. I'm because I have a lot of observational humor,
Right.
and
Right.
I have a lot of topical humor, and like I talk about things as you see here. Look, I can.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Uh,
You're gonna talk.
I don't shy away from certain conversations,
Right. Right.
and so I find a way to make those conversations funny and humorous. And just at the root of it all, I find a way to have the conversation
Yeah.
because there are a lot of conversations that need to be had,
True.
and we cannot move forward as a community, as a people, if we don't have these conversations.
True.
And and like you talk about arguing and this is one of the coolest things about being a comedian. It allows you to see people's point, see people's perspective, and then argue it
Mm.
in humor, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Uh, because one of the biggest things biggest problems is not being able to when we get heated is people won't take the time to say, you know what, that's a good point.
Right.
Or
Right.
I see where you're going with that. They
Oh
they
my
they
goodness.
they always got to have the but. No, it's
Right.
like just sometimes go, oh, I see your point with that
I
one.
get it. I agree with that. You're right. It's funny. That's one of my arguments with my guy that I always bring up. I'm like, you do understand in this entire conversation, we've been talking for 3 hours. I'm the only person that's actually said I understand that, or that's a good point, or yeah, I can agree with that, or anything like that.
Yeah,
Everything I say is like, nah, 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 nah. Before I even get it out, sometimes you're already like,
yeah. See, and that's a problem, man. Like how like you're not a debater. You're not. Look, I understand in the world of debate, and you can't say you're right to that.
all right,
Like
right,
like
you
like,
can't
like
concede
that's
anything.
yeah, that's one of the rules in debating, to not concede.
Yeah,
But in the real world, if you're if it is your goal, and
if
and, and, and yeah, that's why if it is your goal
yeah,
to find common ground,
Mm,
then you'll be able to do that.
right.
If peace is your goal, if peace is in your is something that you desire,
Yeah.
you have to be able to talk to somebody and try to find common ground, because
Right.
that's where you're gonna start growing from.
Yeah.
And and so as a comedian, that's my whole thing, and that's what really made me start using. Um, that's what made me came up with the bit hood nerd itself, is a common ground thing,
Mm,
because there's too many people in the hood who feel like we gotta be hard.
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like you gotta have a certain element to that to survive. But you could also be smart. You could
Yeah.
also, you could be an intellectual. You could be into your comic books. You could be into science, and and uh, and that should be okay. You know, uh, in the hood, because how are we gonna rebuild it or help our hood to thrive if the if education isn't a key part, if intelligence isn't a part of it?
Mm,
It's gonna take intelligence, and so stop beating up the nerd.
yeah.
You can tease him a little bit, but don't you gotta bully him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Everybody needs a little tough skin. You
Everybody
know what I'm
needs a little
saying? I
tough
mean,
skin.
I feel like, today's world is, I feel like the kids today should be tougher than ever. We should want them to be tougher than ever because they, like you said earlier, they're exposed to so much. They're going to face so much more of the world than we ever did at such an early age. So to have some level of thick skin and confidence in yourself is going to be even more necessary at an earlier age. But I feel like we coddle the kids even more so now. We
Yeah.
want, in our desire to protect them, it's for good purpose, because we've had suicides, we've had school shootings, we've had increase in mental health issue, we've had reasons. I mean, it's not based on facts or not based on data while we're doing it, but there's still a possibility that we're making them a little more soft, a little more coddled, a little more, it's okay. Everybody's going to understand you and understand where you're coming from. And they're not going to point a finger at you, and they're not going to say anything negative about it. And everybody's going to be agreeable. And it's like, no, they're not.
They're not.
No, they're not
They are not.
at all. And like, how much longer is it going to take them to realize that, when for us, maybe it was wrong to bully, but maybe that kid that you used to see, and I know stories like this because we all have them, that you used to be like, oh yeah, they were fat. We used to always call that was Fat Tom. Call them fat all the time. But now they don't look fat no more. Now they got it together. They might have went to the military. They might have did this, did that, and the other. They could be a personal trainer now, making way more money than you. You know what I mean? Got a crazy following and got a lifestyle. But what if that didn't happen until later on in life, when maybe that metabolism wasn't as good as it was back then? They got to work a lot harder to get that weight off, because everybody's been, they don't want to fat shame them. They don't want to talk about, you can be healthy, like you can be big and beautiful. You can be, it's like, come on, come on.
Because unfortunately, we don't live in a utopian society.
Right,
And so we got to prepare ourselves and
right.
prepare our children for the fact that this is not a utopia.
It's not.
Like
It's not.
if it was utopian, we wouldn't have to worry about that.
Right.
But because it's not, I talk to my daughter, like I tease her,
Mm-hmm.
and I let her know, and I let her tease me,
Hmm.
and and then I have conversations about um, appropriateness,
Yeah.
like like you can make fun with your friends, and but the moment, teaching her, know when you cross the line,
Yeah.
and know when to go. You know what? Now I stop,
Right. And,
and
and
and,
and admit it.
and admit it,
Yeah.
and be able to admit, like when you hurt somebody's feelings, to be able to go, okay, I went too far,
Right.
uh, and and uh, and because I teach you this stuff, because I want her to have to be able to be armed when somebody try to tease her.
Mm.
When somebody try to step, come at her, all left sided and whatnot. Uh, I want her to be able to either defend herself verbally, or B, know how to disengage.
Yeah.
Like it's your choice to participate or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's good. That's really good. You teach her that.
yeah, but one thing I don't want her to be is they were picking on me. They were saying rude things. Like, what'd you say? Did you say rude things back?
That's good. I haven't done that with my daughter. I feel like she'd just be like exactly that. Like they were being so mean, but I never thought about that. That's a really good point. It's a really good
Like,
idea you had, especially if you know your kid and you know they know how to handle that information. They're not going to be the kid to take it and go, "Huh, that's good, Dad. I'm using that. I'm using that
yeah,
tomorrow."
no, she's not
They just
that.
like yeah, you.
No, 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 thank God. Because if she was that, then that would have been a whole different conversation about
Right,
it. Because
right,
then I would have known, oh, she already got this skill.
right.
Like, oh, she got the skill. So then it just would have been a matter of like, oh, look, this is when you use this. Don't be like you need to chill. Or, like it would have
Yeah,
been,
you have to parent a little different.
yeah, parented a little differently. But
Yeah, yeah,
I want her to know that there are mean people out there, and how to handle mean people.
yeah,
Uh, and I want that to be a strong muscle for her, because I also don't want her to be um, like a lot of these kids today. This cancel culture, days of just running easily.
mm,
Like if there's something worth sticking around, uh, stick around,
yeah,
and learn how to handle it with people. Learn how to work your way through conflict.
absolutely.
Learn how to disagree and still respect somebody. And because too often these days, these kids ain't learning that.
At all, at all. And I think that pressure cooker is what allows for these kids to be like introverts and then have suicide attempts and have these mental health issues and all these problems because you just the humans are not designed to bottle all that stuff up and to take that type of wear and tear, especially mentally and emotionally, and still be healthy from it.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think it's starting to reflect in relationships.
See, you touched it again.
I think
Women
it's
and
starting to reflect in
relationships,
relationships.
sir. You have been now officially invited to volume one to volume one of women and relationships. I want to have, some guys that are, married long time, some guys that might be still single out there looking, same thing with women. And so that we can have a strong conversation in a lot of areas. And so, yes, you will be getting the
Yeah,
call for volume one. I,
I'm gonna send you a clip. I'm gonna send you this thing that I saw on TikTok the other day.
okay.
I'm gonna send. I want to tell you, like, it's a relationship based thing.
Okay. Yeah, shoot it to me.
Women and men's feelings on things, and because as a divorced man, it's like it's a different world. Like the dating world out there is different now, and not that I'm not even like really dating. Uh, I'm just out here like whatever.
Brother Jamel, you just dropped a bombshell on me, sir.
Oh, you didn't know I was
You
divorced?
you just and you did it so brother Jamel smooth that I ain't even I'm like should I react?
Nah,
I did not.
I saw the reaction in her face. I was like, I don't think he knows.
I'm
Uh,
like as I was waiting. I had to wait for the rest of the words because as artists sometimes we talk in third person, so you might not have been talking about you. You might be like as a divorced person, some gentlemen have to understand that this and that and the other. So I'm like let me see what follows that.
oh man,
Okay, that's okay. So now
yeah,
that's another again. The
yeah,
invitation has already been given because yeah, that's wow. Yeah, we got to talk about that. I
yeah.
did not know.
We will. So just let me know when it's happening, and I'd like to be a part of the conversation because there are perspectives and there are worlds that people have to. I think I have a lot of things to share.
Yeah, yes, I know you do. Well,
Uh,
sir, it has been incredible rocking with you today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope everybody listening enjoyed it. We got a chance to really dig into music on another level, as we always do. And then we got into some other topics that we didn't necessarily plan for, but organically, hey,
It's all music.
it's all a symphony. It's
Yeah,
all a symphony. We're just trying to get the notes right in this symphony because it's a little off.
that is.
Right now it's rehearsal, and rehearsal ain't really. Some people got to shape up, play your instrument a little better.
Yeah, that is.
There it is.
Refine your instrument, you
There
know?
you go. My God, where can they find you? If anybody wants to check you out in any way, shape, or form, please tell the people how they can follow Brother Jamel.
Well, just I mean, my name right there, Jamel. Instagram, Jamel's underscore media is my preferred, page. But you might see another page on there. It don't matter. You can follow either one of them. Just know that if you go to the Jamel Hooper page, that's gonna be just more personal stuff on there sometimes, and personal views and things like that. So
Yeah.
it might get a little social, might be political, maybe just whatever.
Yeah.
But Jamel's underscore media is more my page for the arts and what have you. I'm still doing spoken funk with my brother poetry. We're out in Victorville now, so
Oh wow.
you can check out spoken funk on. Matter of fact, this Saturday we're going to be in doing spoken funk in Victorville.
Nice.
And
Is
then
it online as well, or just in person right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
just in person.
Okay.
And then just as far as performing wise, like as a comedian, I'm all over. I do I do shows in a lot of different places. The Comedy Chateau tends to be my most frequented place that I do stand up, but I'm in a lot of venues around town. As a DJ, you just hit me up. You just I actually have a DJ event celebrating 50 years of hip hop.
There it is.
Next Wednesday.
There it is.
Next Wednesday at the Room Hollywood. We're doing our own, what I mean, because I'm not an A-list celebrity, but hip hop has helped get me to a lot of places, and so it's only right that I show some love and throw my own hip hop party.
Got to. Yeah, we should actually do a 50-year celebration right here on the channel as well.
Yeah,
I'm gonna come up with something. I think I believe hip hop deserves it. Let's say it that way. It brought us together. You know what I'm saying?
Speak on
it. There it is. All right, my guy. I enjoyed you. I'll holler at you. Love you, my brother.
It's been a pleasure.
Definitely, man. I'll holler at you.
Peace.
All right, y'all. That's it. It has been good. It has been solid. Man, that was a great episode. Episode 27 with my man, Brother Jamel. That was hopefully you followed along. If you didn't get a chance to hear all of it, please go back, listen to the episode. You can hear it on Apple Podcasts as well. You can watch it on Facebook, on YouTube. That was a good one. I thought we were just going to stay in music and hip hop because there's so much to that. I mean, we talked about a lot of the earliness of hip hop and the beginnings of how music has affected us and affected cultures. And we did all of that. But then we got into some other political topics. We talked about some sensitive subjects that really need to be talked about more and expressed in America. And hopefully healthy conversations like this, whether they're debates or just idea sharing, can cause all of us to get along a little more, to understand each other a little better, and to build a better America. So with that being said, pod is good. And all the time, I am Cashmere, California. I will catch y'all on the next show. Peace out.